Hello, fellow Econauts, and welcome back to our show. I'm here with my brother Ben, the Rocketman, and today we are talking about the TEDx talk of my brother Ben. Hey Ben, how are you?
Hey, thank you, Simon. How's it going? Hey, fellow Econauts. Yeah, today we want to talk about the TEDx talk I gave last year.
First question, what was the topic of the TEDx talk?
So I was talking about a project I'm doing with a number of esteemed professionals about building a heavy launch infrastructure in Western Australia.
And what inspired you to talk about spaceports?
So the inspiration came from a long interest in the space economy. I wanted to solve the problem how to build a sustainable space economy, and specifically how to build one in Australia. So I followed the ideation and also creation of the Australian Space Agency, and also in the work, obviously, with SpaceX and the privatization of the space economy more and more. But I fail to see a project that truly builds something sustainable for that means can sustain itself, but also others, to build something where humans truly get into space cheaper and more affordable in general, and quicker and more reliable.
And how did you prepare for the TEDx talk? And actually, how was it even possible that you were talking at TEDx?
Let me tackle the second question first. So I was actually approached by the a very nice TEDx team here in Perth from TEDx Kings Park, from Rob Lyons, who is the curator at TEDx Kings Park. Hello, Rob. Thank you again. And I think he got my name from one of my colleagues at the University of Western Australia, and he was interested on my views. The preparation was quite interesting. So first of all, I can tell you doing a TEDx talk is completely different to any other presentation. I was given another curator who then helped me to work through what I want to present and how to present it, and also sort of a bit of acting, how to add this acting on stage when you do the movement and louder, leiser, and so on, louder and quieter, and so on. And we met every week for I think it was for a couple of months from my memory. Met every week for a dedicated time, and first we worked on what I want to say. What are the controversial questions? How can I present it in a way that everybody understands it, not only people who are very, very educated, but also normal people in the audience. Then we boiled it down, we condensed, we reformulated, and then in the end we practiced. So I was giving this talk multiple times, obviously, before I was actually going on stage.
A little bit different to what we do here.
Yeah, yes, like we wing it. It's also different to other presentations I usually give. Usually, I build a PowerPoint slides
Yeah.
presentation. No, okay, the talk has to be, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, calculate per minute, maybe 2 minutes per slide, something like that, just build slides. And then I talk freely about the slides, but I have always the slides as a crutch so that I know what's the next slide, what I want to say, and so on. With the TEDx talk, it was completely by heart, but the trick, and this is what they taught me in the process, the trick was to present it in a way as if I just freely presented right in that moment.
What we do here is, we have like a very small script, and then because we know each other, I think like for a little bit, yeah,
2 or 3 years.
so we can already adjust to our question, and we of course talk off screen about the topics as well all the time, which makes it a lot easier, I would say, to do that show.
And then they pretend if everything is here completely spontaneous, and
Not everything. Some
things
parts
are
are a
like
little bit
this
scripted.
was.
That was, yes.
Or was it?
Or was it? Oh, maybe not. One thing that I noticed during the TEDx talk was obviously your analogy about space ports and airports. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, because I thought that
Yeah,
was like
sure.
very. Sorry if I interrupt again. Not scripted, by the way. Um,
Or was it?
or was it? Um, it is, of course, very important. As an airport cannot be built anywhere in the world, and a spaceport is, of course, even more complicated. We did talk about that in some of our episodes here at the Econauts. Check it out. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about that too.
I think airport is definitely one good analogy, but maybe it's more obvious with a harbor, which is in the end the same thing from the analogy, but the harbor is more obvious. A harbor has to be built at the river or at the ocean. So you can't just build a harbor somewhere in the desert and then expect ships to arrive when there's no waterway. And obviously, if you don't have any economy in the area and no money to invest, you can't build a waterway to your harbor. So obviously, you select a location which is good for the harbor, not the other way around. With an airport, it's similar. Usually, you have already a logistic hub or a big metropolis. And because of the interest in the area, you build an airport so that as many people as possible can use that airport, so that the airport is a good investment. And the same goes also for a spaceport. To build a spaceport, you need to look for different requirements in different locations and see how big is the impact, how big is the investment, and all the other reasons I mentioned in the TEDx talk. You have to watch it, so if you want to know more about it. But yeah, all these reasons are important to consider to select the right location for a spaceport. Also, the consideration if you want a heavy launch spaceport or a light launch spaceport, what are the orbits you want to address, and so on.
I also like the what you mentioned in the TEDx talk is building a spaceport closer to the equator actually is reducing cost by a significant amount. And one thing that we also mentioned in our show is if you have a heavy launch facility or super heavy launch facility, that doesn't mean that you can only launch heavy or super heavy rockets. You can, of course, also launch all the medium size and light rockets. Um, Maybe you can just let us know a little bit about the location again, why it is so important to be closer to equator, so that we have that on record here too.
Well, let's. I want to rephrase that question a little bit more, and I think that is what a lot of people often forget. For me, it was more important to focus on heavy launch and super heavy launch in the first place. So I was more looking at what do we need to make that possible. And as you said, obviously you can launch lighter from a heavy launch pad, but the thing is, if you want to launch heavy from a light launch facility somewhere away from the equator, then you can't launch heavy or super heavy. But so why is super heavy and heavy so important? If you look at the data, for example, on the site World of Data, you can clearly see that most launches are conducted by SpaceX. And what are they launching? Currently, mostly Falcon 9, which is medium rocket, still requires heavy launch facilities because of the proximity to the equator. And what is coming in the future? Starship. Starship will be the big horse for the space economy in my eyes. We need to establish a highway to space to make it more and more affordable. So we have to drive down the cost per kilogram, the cost per volume, so that it gets more and more affordable, more and more companies can be part of the space economy, and so on. This is a snowball effect. There's a prediction of several companies like Deloitte and McKinsey, and they predict that by 2035-ish, there will be a lunar economy. So now, here's the thing. To get to the moon, you need heavy launch facilities. You need heavy launch rockets. Otherwise, you can't make that happen in the first place. Light launch will not cut it. Therefore, long story short, heavy launch, super heavy launch, that is what we have to focus on. We only have a few heavy and super heavy launch facilities available in the world, especially if we consider that we have some sides and some geopolitical conflicts still going on. So for the Western world, there's a small amount of launch facilities available. Commercially, even less, and that's why we need to build more of those. So now, if you then again watch the TEDx talk, there's a number of requirements you have to go through. If you do your homework, there's only a handful of locations where you can actually do that. And I believe I found one.
One thing that I wanted to mention too, yes, you said by 2035 we have a lunar economy, which, in my opinion, will skyrocket, if I may say that, to have like a colony on Mars in, I think, in very close proximity to 2035, because I believe as soon as we have the ability to go to the moon more frequently, it will also be a lot easier to get to Mars. And I think we talked about that
Absolutely.
in many episodes before. The Mars it's one of the locations that will allow us to be interplanetary. Um, it will allow us to access other planets as well, maybe moons of Jupiter. That's something that is like a possibility too. But the first step, it's obviously getting a highway, as you already mentioned, into space, which is only done by, having more spaceports available, right?
Also very important, and I think it's you see it when you talk about these ideas, and when other people talk about these ideas, and when people who are skeptic talk about these ideas, you are focusing on the dream, going to Mars, colonizing other planets, the cutting edge things, to do new things. When I say a lunar economy, I mean that there will be a heavy commercial interest. People will make money with a lunar economy. Otherwise, it's not really an economy. And then all the other steps after will be easier, because now suddenly you have people interested, more money in that area, and also more benefits in that area. So suddenly it becomes more and more important to go further, to go this next step, to become interplanetary. Just to make us interplanetary for philanthropic reasons is important, don't get me wrong, and I'm all for it, but that's for people who want it and who understand it. To get the rest with us, we need to show them that they can make something there. We may have to make it truly sustainable. Sustainable is not just a word which means to be renewable or good for the nature or good for humanity. Sustainable means, if you look at from business perspective, that the business makes money, so it can sustain to make the next step. So, and I think that's very important to mention, that we will see truly not only going to Mars and other planets. That's in the moment still that philanthropic vision for the future, but we will see more economical activity. People will make money in LEO, low Earth orbit, and on the moon.
I think you made a very good point. Yes, I agree. I think I look more from the science fiction and dreamer perspective,
Which is
but
totally fine. Yeah.
absolutely, I think we have, if we look back, we have seen that a lot of science fiction has inspired real technology, real advantages in and really leaps in technology too, and vice versa, right? And
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's I think it's a very clear point here. But for me, and that's maybe something I'm always forgetting to mention too, even if I dream to be like interplanetary species, and I know that I will not be able to fly a spaceship myself, but the dream is still there. That's the reason why I like playing those games, for example. But I still have in my mind that, because it's for me such a clear step. If we go to space, we have to have an economy. We will
Yes.
not only have like a base on the moon just for having a base on the moon, or a base on Mars just because we have a base on Mars. No, we have the ability to, for example, getting helium-3 from the moon back to Earth. We maybe have the ability to mine resources in space that we either can refine and maybe produce into products that we can then send into, you know to the colonies where they are needed, or
Yeah.
also to Earth if necessary. There are so many applications that I maybe brush over when I just talk about my dream. But I agree with you. We have to get like everybody on board, which is, and I say that over and over again, that's one of the reasons why we have that show. to get more people on board, more people interested
Exactly.
in that
Yeah.
in that topic. And I'm very
And one,
happy that you actually had the opportunity to talk about that at TEDx. I think that's fantastic. And if you want, you can check it out. We have like a link in description. Any last words before we
yeah.
wrap
So
it up?
I think the last word I really want to show off here, and that's also more or less the motive in the TEDx talk. I bring the analogy between the space economy and the gold rush,
Yes.
and at the same time, who makes money in the gold rush? Yeah, of course, the one who finds the monkey fist or the big gold nugget and or the mother lode. These guys, they become rich, but there's millions of people who want to find something, and most of them don't find that a big find. They,
In the
they end
gold
up
rush, the guy
and working a
who
lot.
sold the shovel is actually the one.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the analogy. And that's the analogy why a spaceport will kickstart a sustainable space economy, because you have multiple people, they carry the risk, they have all the projects, but they need a platform. So they need the shovel to start to begin with. And if you make a shovel available to many people, so if you drive the cost down, now suddenly lots of people will give it a go, and you increase the likelihood of the 1, 2, 3, 10, 100 people who find the mother lode, who make it sustainable. And then suddenly we have space projects. And then everybody will think, oh, why haven't we done it last year already? Why haven't we done it decades ago? Like SpaceX with Starship, like or Falcon 9. Look at how far they got. And they are now 20 years in the make. So, it took time. Of course it took time. But now they are there, and nobody can steal their success.
Let's wrap it up. Like I mentioned before, the link is in the description for the TEDx talk. Yeah. We also have to do the liking
Yeah,
stuff.
like
You already
like the TEDx talk,
like the TEDx
but
talk, yeah.
also
And
like
please
us.
also, if you like this episode,
Yes.
not scripted again. If you like this episode, don't forget to leave a like.
No, it's here.
Exactly. And subscribe if you haven't already.
And don't forget to hit the notification bell. And I want to remind you, we also have other Econaut episodes. My God,
Oh my God,
not
it's getting.
scripted. Or is it?
Or is it?
So we have other episodes. Please check them out and leave a comment and a like.
Yes, please leave a comment and a like, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.